Okay, we have an orb web here. I can see its legs back there. This thing is very large. That is a large spider. That spider is so big, and I'm not joking when I'll tell you it's the size of the center of the palm of my hand. It is so huge. I'm assuming, judging from its legs, I'm assuming it's Araneus. So perhaps Araneus gymoides. Large, but it's huge. Nice looking bits of web here by Latrodectus. She's obviously down behind that rock somewhere in her hide. And we're not going to get a look at her amongst this Precambrian mudstones. So this is the belt supergroup of mudstones here in northwest Montana. I had someone message me about painting spiders or marking spiders for research, and so marking them so that you can keep track of them, and wanted my thoughts on where to mark them. That's very interesting. It's an interesting subject. So but what I say is mark the femur, mark the legs. And so why mark the femur? Well, it's the largest part of the leg, and we don't want to mark the dorsal abdomen. We don't want to mark the cardiac region, okay, of the dorsal abdomen, the heart mark. We don't want to mark any of that. We don't want to mark the underside of the abdomen. Obviously, there's organs there and things that we don't want to get paint on or marking on. And marking the cephalothorax is just simply not an option. It's too small, and you could damage the eyes and stuff like that. So we're going to go to the leg, and we're going to mark the legs. So here, imagine this is the leg. We're going to mark the femur, so the big part of the leg. We're going to avoid the joints. Remember, they have slits and cilia. Especially black widow spiders rely heavily upon the slits and cilia in the joints of their legs for vibrations. They are a web-bound spider, and they rely heavily upon them leg slits and cilia for hearing and sensing vibrations. Okay, so you see a black widow come out on her web. She opens her front legs in a V. That means she's ready to bolt. And why she's doing that is because she's got her slits and cilia opened such a way that she's sensing for intruders, for slight vibrations. She's got those wide open. And so in opening them up, she's tuning them, and she can bolt. She's got them V'd out, and she's ready to bolt. She darts out of her hide. Notice her front legs spread wide. And there she goes again. Grabbing those strands and feeling it with those slits and cilia. So we don't want to get paint in the slits and cilia. Remember, the spider's got slits and cilia throughout their body. Latrodectus included, but the major players in a Latrodectus life are the legs. Their hearing, vibration sensing is in the legs, and we want to avoid getting paint in those slits and cilia. So the femur is the largest part. You want to get the back side of the femur, okay? That's where we can mark some paint to keep track of a spider. Let's say you're doing research in the field, or you're doing, like me, you're a horticulturist, you have black widow spiders that are naturally occurring in a greenhouse, and you want to keep tabs on them. So you can put a little paint on the femur. That's what I've done in the past to see where a black widow is and if she moves. Okay? You locate her someone else, you'll know. So it's kind of like marking your queens, your honeybees, okay? And marking the queens, of course, right on the back side of their head, basically. But we can't do that with spiders, and we don't want to mess with their body too much. Remember, not the cardiac mark of the dorsal abdomen. We want to avoid all that area. Let's avoid the abdomen altogether. And let's avoid the cephalothorax. Remember, you can't get enough paint on there anyway. You'll damage the eyes, whatever. It's too small. There's organs underneath the spider that we don't want to mess with. We don't want to get paint on stuff. But that femur is usually easily accessible, and that big femur, we can get a little bit of stripe of paint on there. And then on that subject, I've used red. And I used red because red is a natural Latrodectus color. Latrodectus hesperus does not have red on its legs, so I know if I mark it, I know that I put that there. Okay? But red is a natural color of those spiders, and we don't have to worry about predation then. Remember, a different color, we could somehow introduce... we could make it easier for a predator to see them, and we don't want to do that. We want their life as natural as possible. These are just my thoughts. These are just my thoughts of why and where we mark paint on a spider. I discourage people marking spiders in the wild, marking black widow spiders in the wild. But if you're doing research or something, you know, this is part of the, it's the nature of the beast. But in a greenhouse setting where I want to keep track of a spider that's, you know, let's say she's living over here, I want to see if she ever moves, I want to see if that's the same spider generation after generation, I may mark them to do that. So that's my thoughts on that. The femur is probably the best spot. Now, this is probably a strange topic for a lot of you. You're probably like, what in the world, marking a spider? Who would think of such a thing? But it happens. You know, there's just habitat like crazy in here. And not many spiders. They're up on the ridge. So this bank here, this is where our Latrodectus are. All along that bank, that south-facing bank. But down in this drainage, they're just not. And I don't expect them to be, but boy, there's web there. There's some webbing there, but I guarantee you that's Linophiidae. You know, with sheet weavers are in here. Let's look for more spots. This is all henbane. These seed pods are henbane. So Hyoscyamus niger. Now I call this rattlesnake grass, as if we listen here, the seeds inside rattle just like a rattlesnake. I've always referred to this as just rattlesnake grass. Very similar sound. It's all over in here. It's gone to seed. This is August. An amazing amount of this stuff in here. This is a highly toxic plant. Can be lethal, but it does have medicinal purposes. So this is a flightless wasp, often referred to as a velvet ant. They are, of course, not an ant. They are a female wasp that has no wings. And they're flightless, and their sting can I've been stung by them, and it's about a 4 on the pain scale, and it'll bring you to your knees. It hurts. So I just think this is kind of neat here. We got the 2 egg sacs of the black widow and a very large hide up in the bank here. And it's just surrounded by this toxic henbane. I just think that's kind of neat. She chose, so, you know, Latrodectus is a toxic spider, and she chose this toxic area to kind of curl up in. I just think this is kind of a neat spot. See if we can get a look at her without disturbing her. Up inside there, she has an egg sac. A viable egg sac in there. Hopefully the camera's picking her up as she sits in the darkness there. Nice, big, healthy mother. I just really like her spot here amongst the henbane. I think that's kind of fitting. So that's Eglinopsis. In that funnel, that is the American grass spider, Eglinopsis. He's staring at us in there. Hopefully the camera's picking that spider up. And then right next to him is our Latrodectus. Now oftentimes that Eglinopsis spider will block out the Latrodectus. In other words, it will make a big front porch of web that will cover the whole area, and she'll literally have to move on. It's not happening in this case. She seems to be doing just fine, and so does he. But oftentimes when those spiders are together, it is Eglinopsis that ends up pushing the Latrodectus out. She will find a different spot. Latrodectus can be very solitary and shy, meek spiders, so they don't like a lot of activity around them like that. Nice looking webbing here. There's an egg sac down inside there on the ground, discarded, and a nice big funnel hide in there. And then right over here, there's another one. We have some egg sacs down inside there. I don't know if this camera can pick those up. Down on the ground, discarded egg sacs. And she's got a nice funnel hide in there too. So no doubt these are sisters in close proximity, living their lives. Now, Latrodectus hesperus females will cohabitate. They'll even cohabitate in the same burrow or same hole. I don't know if you can see her jostling that egg around a bit. The big long legs. I don't know that this camera can see in the dark like that. But a nice, big, healthy mother. And just an amazing network and lattice work. If you can see that scaffolding of webbing, and then her funnel hide in the back. Really beautiful. Now remember, we have the lattice work as the main support structure of the web. And then beneath it, the gumfoot strands, or pillar strands as I often call them, because sometimes they look literally like the Parthenon. They have so many columns or pillars hanging down. But just a pronounced sheet web, almost like a dome spider, almost like a Linophiidae dome. Part of that is literally like a dome, her sheet web, and then it's, you know, glides up in her pronounced funnel inside there. The beauty of a well-constructed Latrodectus web. Just the way it sparkles. And such a neat spot here. Look, she's this old tree stump and the dead roots, and then there's a hole up underneath, and she's found a big root to anchor all her anchor strands. It's pretty. I had to crawl under here to get in here, but it was worth it. That is just beautiful.